As people, we lose things.
Huh?
We lose our remotes.
Come on.
We lose our glasses.
Has anyone seen my glasses? Anyone?
And lose our keys.
Whoa.
Keys.
Keys?
We even lose things that aren't things. We can lose face. Lose ground. Lose focus.
Do I look blurry?
Yes.
And lose our cool. We say things like, you snooze, you lose.
I'm tired.
He lost his shirt.
Hey!
And have you lost your mind?
My brain!
Many things get lost, but the worst thing we lose is our way.
Hey! Uh-oh.
And that's when it's time to search. Searching can be messy.
Gross.
Searching can be scary.
Hey, a flashlight.
And searching can hurt.
Whoa.
But in the end, the search is the only way to get found.
Thanks.
And this was under your couch.
My remote.
And found is the best way to be.
God's awesome.
And if you're just joining us, this is the perfect time to just join us because we're going through the book of John. And in this particular week, we're going to be talking about this kind of thought of being lost and found. And to demonstrate or illustrate, if you will, I brought all of our lost and found items. Isn't that exciting? All right, so let's take a look at what goodies and treasures we have in our lost and found. So we got this, I think this is for a tent. And how it ends up, how does stuff end up in your lost and found? Like, how does that happen? So if anyone is missing, like, that middle part of your one-man tent, here it is. Okay, if any of you are needing to go to the pool or to the beach and shoot some people with some fun water things, we got that. These are too small for me. Okay. This is a favorite. Like, how did this get in our lost and found? Seriously. Like... That is awesome. All right. Let's see what else we got for goodies. Got goggles and more goggles. I've got a deck of cards, sunscreen. I have, what else? Oh, about 10 pairs of sunglasses. Okay. So that's what's in that. Okay. I've got this trusty umbrella. Anyone is prepared for the rain. I've got a Bible, a leather-bound one. This one's kind of like the expensive version. So, Debbie. So you might want to come get that. I got the not-so-expensive Bible, but this is definitely cool. No name. And I got somebody's dishes from some sort of meal. So there we go. And I don't even, vitamin D supplement drops, if anyone's missing those. Oh, this is awesome, too. Kite string. Like, this is great, right? And so as I was these at one point were not useless. Like, right now, this umbrella has been sitting in our, the Live for More Center, where, that's where we, office out of. It's been sitting there for, several months. And for several months, this umbrella has had no purpose. This lonely umbrella has not been used to its full potential and is now just a very ugly thing that sits under a window for other people to look at, and it's not very artistically pleasing. All right, this towel, and this towel, and this towel, and this towel, and this towel are not being used. They are now worthless items that take up more space in the Live for More Center. So there comes a point, and this isn't really just about me getting overly frustrated about our lost and found situation, but those things are things that have no owner and they're not being used for their purpose. These sit in a bag and they're now, in a sense, worthless, right? These towels, which could be used to be drying someone's skin and drying someone's hair, are now forever in their world of prison of bagdom where they do not get used for their purpose. And that tambourine, which at one point, this was a worship instrument or this was an awesome band. All right, so at one point, and then it got put into the box of gloom, and it is no longer being used for its purpose. And I just bring that up because I think many of us, if we're real, come on, let's be real. Many of us feel that way. We feel worthless. We feel worthless because we are not being used to the utmost of our potential. We're in some cubicle prison, and we're doing work for some mental midget, and we are thinking to ourselves, nobody is using me. Am I right? Or maybe perhaps like you are in, and maybe you'd say like you're in like this relationship and it feels like you're useless here because you don't want to have that talk right now, but you know where I'm going, right? Like that, the reality is we find ourselves in relationships, we find ourselves in work opportunities or non-opportunities where we are filled with a sense of dread and gloom because we're not being used and we just are stuck in a box somewhere, filed away, and we're just hoping that someone would come and realize our potential. Am I right or am I right? I think all of us come to that point in life. I mean, and if you haven't been there, then you've just lived this unbelievably blessed, charmed life. But I think at some point, all of us have found ourselves in a spot, in a position where we just feel lost. We just feel lost. And this morning, I want us to learn perhaps how we can go from being lost to being found. Because you know what? Ultimately, I can't wait for the owner of this umbrella to put it back to its purpose again. And how is that going to happen for objects that are not inanimate? How's that going to happen for people that are actually, people and not things? Like this is a bunch of things. They can't go seeking out their owner. But for us, who have that soul, who have that experience where we know what it is to be lost and we can't stand it. And this towel didn't know it was not being used for its purpose. It just is stuck in a bag somewhere. But you do, and you know that this isn't you, that there's something more that you should be living for. And we want to figure out how to go lost to found. So, if you don't have a Bible this morning, we are going to be passing out Bibles. So if you don't have a Bible, raise your hand in the air, wave it like you do care, and a Bible will come to you. If you want the leather-bound one here, I have no problem letting you use this one. This is actually really nice. It feels good in your hands. But it is pink, so, okay. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to be on page 886 of the Bibles we're passing out, and we're going to do a quick recap on the book of John because we're going all the way through the book of John. And if you've ever heard this, like if you became a Christian recently, which is a lot of you, then you've heard this. You need to read the book of John. And so now we're going to go through the entire book of John so that you can understand the book of John. And we start off with John and saying that John was presenting his case that Jesus is the Son of God. And so the first 18 verses of chapter 1 was John, the author, talking about how Jesus is the Word, God's Word, like the creative force of the universe, is that made flesh. And he's the God-man. He kind of rolled around the earth as a perfect, sinless being, God-man. And then John the Baptist comes like the second testimony. So John, the author, writes about Jesus, and he says, and there's another guy, John the Baptist. He also said that Jesus is the Son of God. And this week, John, the author, is going to continue to build his case for you and for all readers that Jesus truly is the Son of God. So here we are, page 886. It's John chapter 1, verse 35. And we're going to do a little bit of recap from last week, too, because we went over this last week. Verse 35, here we go. The next day, again, John was standing with two of his disciples. So John hanging out with two disciples. This is John the Baptist hanging out with two of his disciples. We don't know who those disciples are yet, but we will soon. And he looked at Jesus as he walked by and said, "Behold, the Lamb of God." So he's pointing out, well, that's the guy you really should be following. And the two disciples heard him say this, and then they followed Jesus. And Jesus turned and saw them following and said to them, What are you seeking? And I'm going to pause right here because this for me is always funny. And maybe this is just where like I have an overactive imagination, which is probably already true, but hang with me. All right, so here is, Jesus is just like, la-di-da-di-da. And then like he walks by, some guy goes, hey, behold the Lamb of God. He's like, yeah, kind of gives him the nod. And all of a sudden, a couple dudes start following Jesus. And they're like, and you kind of get that creepy feeling that somebody's walking and following you. Anybody ever had that feeling? And you're just not really sure if this is friend or foe, and you're just like, I don't know. I mean, and then they turns around, he goes, what are you guys doing? What are you guys looking for? And they said to him, listen to this, Rabbi, which means teacher, where are you staying? So I want you to imagine this for a second. Some people are following you, and you're kind of weirded out, they're following you enough so that you would turn around and go like, what do you want? And they're like, where are you staying? I mean, that's just creepy to me. I don't know. Maybe you guys are like different. But for some reason, Jesus, because he's all-knowing and all-powerful, he can kind of get away with those things, and he kind of knows what they're asking, because that would be an odd question to ask. And he said to them, come and you will see. Because what I think was actually about to happen here was that the disciples were following. They were just going to follow him and see where he officed out of. Like, hey, let's go to the Live for More Center and check out where he offices. And so they're going to follow Jesus, find out where and then make up an appointment. I mean, that's what people do, right? I mean, like, I'll see you at Tuesday at 3, and maybe I can come see you, and we'll talk about your Messiah issues, and we'll work through that. And maybe that's kind of how he was going, right? I don't know. He says, come and you will see. And what he's doing is he's offering them a chance to follow. And in this culture, ancient Jewish culture, is that when you told someone to follow you, it wasn't like Twitter where you had virtual followers. Like I think I just hit 750 followers on Twitter. It's a big deal, I know. But Jesus was starting followers that weren't virtual. They would actually follow him. And you would start to follow your rabbi like wherever he went. Like wherever he went. Like, the urinal, it's just, that's where it gets awkward. You're like, you're kind of looking around. But you would follow him wherever he went. That's what it meant to follow in somebody's footsteps. Literally, you followed in their footsteps. And they would follow. So they start to follow him, and they go to where he's staying. So I want to kind of recap this real quick. We have John the Baptist with John the author, because this gets confusing, especially when we start using tons of pronouns. Like, we get in a pronoun, maze, and it gets challenging. So John the Baptist has the two disciples, are actually John the author and Andrew. I'm going to show you how that is here in a second. And John the Baptist kind of goes off, does his thing, and we stop following John the Baptist and his story, and we pick up with John the author and Andrew. Now watch, the whole point of that, or the whole thing is like, how do you know it's John the author is one of those disciples? Watch this. So they came, these two disciples, and saw where he was staying, and they stayed with him that day, for it was about the 10th hour. I'm going to pause right here. This is how I know it's John the author. This is how I know. John, the author, is writing this around 90 AD. So this event is happening around 30-ish AD, so 60 years beforehand. How many you can remember what you ate yesterday for lunch? Okay, good, about 2, 3, 4. All right, let's go back a week. How many can remember what hour it was when you met somebody? I mean, let's just think, maybe you can't. Maybe your wife. Maybe you can remember your wife, right? Maybe your husband. Maybe not, right? Maybe some of you tried to forget that already, but that's another sermon for another time. All right, so what happened is right here, it was the 10th hour. This is how I know it's going to be John the author is that disciple. Listen, I can remember exactly what it was that I met Jesus. It was in 1999. It was December 3rd. It was at a 5 o'clock service, a Saturday night service. And I'm bawling my eyes out at around 6:15 as I encountered Jesus, and I understand that he died on the cross for my sins and that he rose from the dead, and I am just like, I'll never forget the time. See, the interesting thing about this is why, if you're a skeptic, do I have skeptics here? You don't have to raise your hand because that'd be weird. But if you're a skeptic and you're like, Bible, schmible, come on. All right, this is an irrelevant detail. It does not matter. This does not further the story on at all. Which, if you're making up the Bible's myth, this is a case why it wouldn't be myth, because you don't have irrelevant details in any sort of myth. You just don't have any. In fact, fiction, which has details like real life, doesn't come in for several hundred years. That doesn't even show up. So for us to say, oh, that's just myth. He just made that up. He could be just flat out lying. but I doubt it, right? I mean, you're not going to go this whole story to kind of prove your case that Jesus is the Son of God and then be willing to die for it, for something you know to be a lie. But that's another story too. All right. So here's the 10th hour. That's the moment he meets Jesus. Maybe comes the realization that it was Jesus. One of the two who heard John speak and followed Jesus, one of the two who heard John the Baptist speak and followed Jesus was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. So he first found his own brother Simon and said to him, "We have found the Messiah." And I've highlighted the word found here because that's kind of like going from lost to being found. That's the whole point. But I love this piece because of that word first, and this is going to Greek for a second, so if you like nerdy stuff, you don't like it, tune out for a sec. So the word first here, there's two ways to write first. There's first, which is like protos, and there's first that's like proton. But with proton, you know, like when in English class, if you ever had like a subject 1 and then subletter A. If you had an A, you always had to have a. If you didn't have a B, you couldn't have an A, right? So that's what this is. You only use that word proton when you're going to have a part B. So you can't have it. So what he's saying is he first found his brother Simon and said to him, "We have found the Messiah," which means the second, John, the author, went and found his brother James, which we're going to find out who that is later. But that's how we know that John is the author. And at the 10th hour, he had this amazing experience. And throughout this scripture, he never references himself as in John. He always kind of just takes himself out of the picture as much as he can. Or he references himself as the disciple that Jesus loved. If you're going to write yourself in the Bible, you might as well write it in like that, right? All right. Okay, so he brought him to Jesus. And Jesus looked at Peter and said to him, "You are Simon, son of John. You shall be called Cephas," which means Peter, or means the rock. You're going to be like a rock as opposed to this, flaky Simon guy. So here we go. We got Jesus. He's got John the author and Andrew, and then they both go get their brothers. And here's the point. See, Andrew found the Messiah, and also John found the Messiah, and then he immediately found Peter, and he brought him to Jesus. See, here's the difference. Here's the difference between lost things and lost people. When this umbrella finally reaches its purpose, it doesn't go around to all the other lost umbrellas. "Lost umbrella, I've been found. You should come and get this. It's pretty awesome. We can go protect people from rain." Like, that doesn't happen, right? No lost inanimate object goes around looking for other lost inanimate objects to tell about how you can have purpose. That doesn't happen. But you see, with people, that does happen. So Andrew, he finds Jesus. He's like, "Oh, we found him. And then he's going to go tell his brother, who he loves his brother. Now, he knows his brother's a little flaky. He knows his brother's a little out of control with his mouth. But he loves his brother, and he goes and finds his brother and said, "You've got to meet the Messiah. He's already changed my life." Now, that's happened. If you've come to faith in Christ, immediately, like, the best people, the greatest evangelists to be able to go and tell people about Jesus more than anybody are like new Christians, which is why I love everyone here being a new Christian, because you guys are, like, you're not freaked out about going and sharing Jesus with somebody. Like, you don't know that you don't know enough yet. You're just like, "I just found Jesus, it's amazing." And you're not worried about someone poking holes in your theology because you know something has happened to you. And you're like, "I'm a different person." Hey, you can poke holes all you want. You can be a skeptic, but I'm different. There's something that's happened to me on the inside. Come and check it out. Come and see. And people are like, "All right, I'll give you that. I don't know about your whole theology thing, but there's something different about you." You've seen it. That's why when family, that's why it's especially hard to convince family, because there's got to be something super miraculous that's happened to you for someone to believe like your brother, sister, mom, dad, son, daughter has come to faith in Christ and their life has changed. Because you're like, my mom was always good about this. Like, "Chris, I know you. You're selfish." Like, that's how moms are. They can be like, "Okay, you want to show me change. You're going to have to show me that over a long time. All right, come and see." Right? That's how it is with family, isn't it? But if you were to look around here, there are many brothers and sisters who have come to this church because their brother and sister was like, "Something happened and I've been changed. Come on." And so here's what happens. So Andrew finds his brother. John finds his brother. Now watch what happens with Jesus. The next day, Jesus decided to go to Galilee. Okay? And then he found Philip. This to me was kind of strange. Philip, it doesn't say that Philip is looking for him. It's he finds Philip and said to him, "Follow me." And apparently that was enough. And Philip was from Bethsaida, the same city as Andrew and Peter. Okay, so kind of we're following this. We've got Jesus. He finds John the author, who finds his brother James. We've got Andrew, who finds his brother Simon. And now we've got Philip is found. Now I want to kind of pause on this. Jesus found Philip. That sounds, for a lot of us, like, what about Philip's free will? Like, did Philip have a choice? I mean, what happened here? I mean, Philip just kind of like taken by storm. Philip, you come with me. That's the way this thing is. Let me see if I can kind of put it for you in a different way, because this is the thing of how much Jesus valued Philip. I mean, there was no questioning this. Jesus goes and gets Philip. That's my man, Philip. And when he finds him, it's a powerful thing. So how many of you have wives that help you clean up things by throwing all your stuff in the trash? Oh, good. All right, I'm not alone. Okay. All right, so as some of you may know, I was in the Army, all right? And we have things that are very valuable to us because, in fact, if any military people, you have a duffel bag of stuff that you haven't actually looked at in several years, but it's in an attic somewhere, and if anyone were to touch that, it's fighting words, right? I mean, like, you start messing with my attic of things, we might have to throw it down. Okay. So Adrienne, my wife, was helping me because she's my helper. And she was helping me clean out a lot of things. And that was a very emotional moment for me when I found out that she was helping me, because the best time to help me, it turns out, is when I'm not there. Okay, so on one of these events of after helping me, I go to find my beret. Now, you're like, a beret, like raspberry beret. That might be the only connotation you have of beret. All right, but a beret is a hat that I used to wear in the Army, and it was a very special hat. And I would wear this beret because I'd pretend to be a soldier every now and then when I go into prisons and tell Army stories, and everyone's like, you know, a lot of hardened soldiers or hardened prisoners go, and then they start crying. It's great. And so I'd tell stories with my special beret, and it was my beret, and there was history behind that beret. It had a special funk to it because it was on my head, and I sweated in it a lot, and it had like little sweat stains that were my sweat stains, and they're very special sweat stains. And so one day I couldn't find my beret, and I knew that somebody was helping me clean. My happy helper. Thank you, happy helper, for cleaning for me. This is so helpful. And we had a discussion. Many of you have had this discussion. It ends with a lot of, you don't love me and you don't care about me. You threw away my beret. And so Adrienne, feeling very upset about this, she goes and she gets online without telling me because she wants to surprise me, and she goes and buys me a brand new beret. It was really sweet. But the problem with this beret, it's not my beret. And so as sweet as I was trying to be, I was like, I know you were trying to be sweet, but you just rubbed salt in the wound. This has no sweat stains. This is not shaped. Yeah, you have to shape a beret, and you have to shave a beret. So what you do with this beret, to make this beret proper, you take a razor, okay? And you start to shave it. Now, if you cut the beret, then you have to go get another beret and go start all over again. So you shave the beret, and you form the beret, you fashion the beret, and then you take the beret, and see, this got this little cardboard thing in here. You have to cut this piece out, because if you don't, you look like a pizza doughboy, and it looks silly. And so you cut that piece out, and then you put it on your head with rubber bands, and you get it soaking wet so that it will be perfectly shaped as it's supposed to be shaped. And you see these weird things? You cut those off too. And so I had to explain that to Adrienne because she didn't know. And that was a fun discussion. So then when we moved into our house here in Wells Branch, you know how things like miraculously appear out of nowhere? And so we're like going through one of the trunks, and I'm like, oh, my beret! In fact, I have it right here. This is it, all right? I was like, oh, yeah. So you know little thingies, the things cut out perfectly right there, cut. And shaped. This has got the shape of years of sweat and effort, and this means I just feel like a warrior just putting it on. See, I found my beret, and all was right with the world. And then, Adrian saw that I found the beret, and she was like, well. And then I had to apologize a lot. Okay. But you see, I value this beret. Listen to me. I value this beret. Why? It's got a story. I crafted this beret. I spent time on this beret. This beret had been with me through thick and thin, and it's got a story to it. It's not just a piece of fluffy cloth. It's my beret. Now listen to me. So you want to know why Jesus goes and finds Philip? Because he formed Philip. Oh, he shaped Philip. He knew Philip. He loved Philip. And so when he finds Philip, there's this intense amount of joy that comes into Jesus because that's his boy. And Philip starts to follow him. Oh, that's value. Think about how much I value a stupid beret. Think about how much more Jesus valued Philip. Think about how much more Jesus values you. I think we sometimes forget that because we get stuck in the box, right? We get stuck in lost and found. We're no longer have a purpose, and we think that someone's forgotten about us and got no purpose left, and we just feel like an inanimate object who has no value. But listen to me. Jesus goes after people because he values them, because he shaped them and he formed them. Next verse, watch this. So Philip found Nathanael, and he said to him, which is a strange thing. Remember, Jesus found Philip. So Philip finds Nathanael and says, we have found the Messiah. We found him of whom Moses and a lot of the prophets wrote. Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. To which you gotta love Nathanael's response. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? Really. And I know, there's certain parts of town that you don't want to be from. It's like the wrong side of the tracks. I just think of the murder capital for a while was Runberg, and I'm from the Messiah's from Runberg. He made it? There's a reality that there's a part of you that says from that part of town, oh my God, nothing good comes from there. Come on. Have you seen? That's the wrong side of the tracks. And this is here's Philip's response. Watch this. I love Philip. Here's Philip. Come and see. So Jesus finds Philip, and Philip finds Nathanael. And here's the ultimate point of that, is that Philip found the skeptic. I love this. Philip finds the skeptic and brought him to Jesus. Listen, we got a lot of skeptics in here, which is why, listen, if you're a skeptic, you don't believe in the whole Jesus thing, God thinks it's kind of a stretch, you're just kind of here because you got drug here. I'm so glad you're here. The response that Philip gives isn't let me go through Moses and all the law, and I'm going to show you kind of how wrong you are. And this is going to open up your mind, and you're going to come awake by me kind of reading a lot of scripture to you and giving you a lot of Bible verses. That's not what he says. He says, come and see for yourself. And that has been a mantra around here. So we have several people that have come in here as skeptics. All right, one of them is, the guy that's playing bass right now is Shep, but when he's not playing bass, another guy, he's on vacation, his name's Steve Tice, and he plays bass. And I met, Steve came in because we needed a bass player. We were it was kind of the very beginning, a couple years ago, there wasn't this many of you, and we were struggling for a bass player. And so Kevin Stafford, knows another guy at the office, and he says, hey, can you play bass? Yeah, I can. Can you do it at our church on Sunday? Sure, I love playing bass. So he comes, and then he starts playing bass. And then we show up. I got to wear my beret for a prison ministry thing. It was awesome. And so there I am outside of the prison with my beret, and Steve comes up to me, and before he goes in, he's like, I got to confess something to you. Yeah, what do you got? I don't believe in anything that you guys believe. I'm like, that's okay. Just don't talk. Just play. You're good. It was great. He's like, listen, I love you guys because you guys are cool and you're so inviting and welcoming, but what you believe is kind of crazy. Some dude, Jesus, died on the cross for everybody's sins 2,000 years ago. How's that even possible? How do you die for somebody else's sins that aren't even the same time, space? Anyway, and then he rose from the dead. I haven't seen it, therefore I don't believe it, and I appreciate what you're doing to help people, and this is good because I'm sure everyone in this prison needs an emotional crutch, but it's just not for me. So are you cool with it? I'm totally cool with that. Come and see. We baptized him on Easter this year. Yeah, that was pretty awesome. He eventually came to that place where he's like, I don't know what happened to me, but I think I believe everything you guys believe now. It just happens, all right? That's one guy. How about this? Robert Spivey, he's another guy. His wife's Carmen, and she kind of grew up as a Christian, and then she married this non-Christian guy. Don't recommend missionary marriage. Probably not a good idea. Anyway, but so she is married to Robert, and like she's finding life at church, and she's enjoying going, and he's like, it's not really my deal. And then for some reason, on one day, he's like, I'll come with you, but I'm not going to believe anything. I'm not going to sign up for anything. And so they come late, of course, and like some of you come late so you don't have to talk to anybody. Well, I already know you do that. So, and then you leave, like right as the sermon's over, you're like going for the door, right? So that nobody will talk to you afterwards, right? That's how we roll, right? That's what we do. So I'm watching. I'm just kidding. And so what would happen is he would come, and as the sermon was over, I'd be like, see you later, Robert. And then he would leave. But he kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And all of a sudden, he's like, I've seen so much darkness in this world. I was in the Navy. I did Special Forces training. I've done all sorts of crazy stuff. And I know dark people who do dark things. How can there be a God? But after watching what is happening here, and God wakes me up in the middle of the night, and I just have all these thoughts of Jesus. And I don't know what's going on. That's because he came and saw. We baptized him this year too. Okay, and you're like, okay, that's two people. How about one more? Just one more. So Tony, where's Tony? Is Tony right there. So Tony, he's a guy. Listen, this is great. I love Tony's story because his wife became a Christian back in college, and she would go to church, and he would sometimes go. And the reason why he went, this is always funny, and he probably doesn't realize how funny this was to me. We sat down for lunch one day, and he's like, I like going to church because I want to stretch myself. And what he was saying is like, you guys believe some absolutely ridiculous stuff, and it's very stretching for me to be around it. I mean, so it's kind of like one of those insults. You don't really know you're insulting somebody, but someone, if they think about it, it's like, you're a moron, and it stretches me to be around you. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. And so Tony, he kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And then he goes to like a business conference type thing. And he's like, and all of a sudden they start turning the thing on to Jesus. It was like an optional leadership extra thing. And so he's there, and like he's sitting like right where he is right now. And the guy says, hey, listen, you've trusted me with your business, with your financial future. Why don't you trust me with this other thing of eternal life? And for some reason, that would not convince anybody else, but it convinced Tony. Because God was working on Tony's heart. And God was doing his thing, and all of a sudden, Tony parts the sea. You see how we have our chairs set up, and it'd be really awkward for you to walk through everybody? He walks through everybody, come up to the front, in the awkward altar call moment. It was weird. You see, you do weird things when you come to Jesus. Your whole life gets transformed and changed because all of a sudden, the person who shaped and molded you has taken you out of the box, and it has given you purpose. And life has meaning. It's beautiful. You see, I love skeptics. So if you're a skeptic here, welcome. It's not going to be long. You'll be in the tub getting dunked. All right, verse 47. So then Jesus saw Nathanael, and coming toward him, and he said to him, behold, here's an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit. And then Nathanael answers, how do you know me? I would be kind of like, you don't know me. It's one of those stop acting like we're friends, right? And Jesus answered him, watch this. Before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you. And Nathanael goes, mm-hmm. It's like a Tony Robbins moment or something. How'd you know? Because he knows everything. And he doesn't have to use cold call psychology. He can just he knows because he made every one of you and me. And he said, before you were here, you're under the fig tree, probably thinking about me. And you didn't even know you were thinking about me. But you were thinking about me. How'd you know? And then Nathanael's answer is so powerful. And remember, this is John building his case for Jesus being the Son of God. Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. And so off the bat, Nathanael's like a skeptic. He comes, he sees, and just like Tony, who just if you trust me with your business, why don't you trust me with eternal life? It was like a weird phrase that somehow got him. And the fig tree thought is what nailed it for Nathaniel. And Nathaniel found Jesus, but wasn't it really Jesus who found Nathaniel first? Huh? Watch this. You see this over and over, right? It's like Jesus finds Philip, but then he goes, I found Jesus. You see, that's kind of how it happens for a lot of us. All right, it's kind of like this. This sign, can we do, I like props. Today is prop day. I don't usually have this much stage full of props, but came on a special day. All right, so this sign says, I found Jesus. Now, what color is the sign? Everybody? It is not black. It is white. Are we willing to have an argument over this? Shall we have a theological debate about this sign? Because to me, this sign is fully white. Because this is the other side of salvation. Jesus found me. You see, for me, when I was 22 and I came to faith in Jesus, you couldn't have told me this. I would have been like, I came to church, I was looking for God, and I found Jesus because he was lost somewhere. I didn't realize he was lost, but he was, and I helped him out. I found Jesus. But you see, here's what happens. You see, Jesus saw me before. Remember, he formed and he fashioned me. He saw me before I went to that church. He saw me in the relationship maze of hoping, praying one day I would find the one. He found me medicating myself with relationships and emotional connections so that I could somehow be found because I just wanted to be known, which is what pretty much we all want. And all of a sudden, as I started to think about it, I started to read Scripture, I started to realize that this is more true. That God was setting it up for me to have an appointment to meet Jesus, which is why you're here. I mean, I know this sounds crazy, but listen. Some of you just rolled in from across the street. And you're like, I don't know how I got here, but there's a church going on. I thought I could play basketball. I don't know. And here you are. And now there's this encounter, and we're having this conversation, and you're kind of going through it like, well, Jesus would have to find me because I'm not even looking for him. And that's how it works. Yes. But for some of you, it's like, I'm looking for anything to get my life right because it's a mess. I'm a complete disaster. I'm ready to do whatever I need to do. I want to find Jesus. Tell me how to do that. There's two sides of salvation. And every person, remember, Jesus has to initiate with you, and then you respond. That's how that works. And there's always two sides of it. The difference between lost things that have no soul is they can't go search out a Savior. But you can. And the great thing, he's already looking for you. You just want to be found. Watch this. Watch this next part. This is going to seal it for me. See, Jesus answered, because I said to you, I saw you under a fig tree, you believe? Bro, the show's about to get a lot better. You're going to see even greater things than these. And he said to him, truly, truly, I say to you, you will see heaven opened and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. So, what? That's where Jesus takes a left turn, and you're like, all right, keep moving. I have no idea what that means. That's Jesus talk that doesn't make sense. But here, I'm going to help you out and give you an interpretation of this. See, when you use that phrase, the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man, that is an Old Testament popular phrase, kind of like a song that you kind of just go back and makes you I say one word of the song, you're like Thriller. When I say Thriller, does that make anyone go back to the 80s? Only 3 of us that live there. Ice Baby? 90s? Okay. All right, good. All right. I won't go any further. All right. You see, Jesus is the ladder that makes the lost found. See, there's angels ascending, descending on the Son of Man. And you're like, what is that even meaning? See, Jesus is what connects heaven to earth. How do I know that? Watch. This is where that phrase comes from. It comes from a guy in the Old Testament, Genesis 28. Jacob is one of Abraham. You guys ever heard of Abraham? Not Abraham Lincoln. Abraham, the father of, many sons of father Abraham. That Abraham. All right, and Abraham has kids. All right, Isaac, Jacob. Jacob is running from his brother Esau, who wants to kill him. That's why you read the Bible. It's really interesting. There's death, drama, all sorts of things. So he's running from his brother Esau, and he takes a nap on a rock. And he's laying his head on this rock, and all of a sudden, he dreams. And behold, in this dream, there was a ladder set up on the earth that reached up to the heaven. And behold, angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it. Now, I don't know if you guys know this. Angels, they got two jobs. One is just to minister to God, okay? Like they hang out with God and they sing awesome songs like, holy, 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 holy is the Lord. And they sing that like all day long. It's kind of like on repeat. And like it's God's favorite tune. He's like, I am holy. Bring it. And that's, they sing it. And so they minister to him. In fact, remember when, some of you guys, church people, you know that when Jesus went out to be tempted in the desert, angels came and ministered to him after he was starving. And they're like, hey, bro, the temptation's over. They ministered to him. So when these angels are ascending and descending on it, like this picture is kind of terrible because this is some artist's rendition back in, 1600 something. And it's like angels walking up and down stairs. No, it's angels ministering to this ladder. And you're like, what? That doesn't even make sense. But who's at the top of the ladder? The Lord stood above the ladder that connects earth, heaven, the Lord. Are you guys following me? Now watch what happens. Then the Lord is going to talk. He says, I am the Lord God, God of Abraham, your father, and God of Isaac. The land in which you lie, I will give to you and your offspring. And then he's going to make a prophetic statement about people being blessed. In you and your offspring shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And they be blessed because a long time after Jacob comes Jesus. Behold, I'm with you and keep you wherever you go, for I will not leave you until I've done what I have promised. And then here is Jacob's response. Watch this. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I didn't even know it. Surely the Lord is in this place, and I didn't even know it. And he was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. What did Jesus say? You will see angels ascending and descending on what? The Son of Man. That was a fun way to say himself, on himself. Because he is the gate, he is the ladder to Jesus. He's it. He is the gate to Jesus. He's the only way. And this is where you're like, come on, Chris, don't be so skeptical. Don't talk about angels and, oh, come on. Because the reality is, how do you even know that? I mean, that was just Jesus could have made that up. I mean, that's where we go with our skeptic types, don't we? I mean, we kind of just find every possible way, say that can't be it. But that's not how it is with Jesus. See, Jesus is saying to us, listen, I am the only way to heaven. Aren't there many ways to heaven? No. It's like saying, aren't there many gravities? There's one gravity. It's a force that pulls everything down. 9.8 meters per second. That's what gravity does. It's the law. It doesn't change. And see, Jesus is that gate, is that ladder, is that door. And you walk through him to get into a relationship with our Heavenly Father. And so for some of us this morning, this is what I want you to do. I want you to find Jesus. Wherever you are in the place of your life of lostness, wherever you're at in kind of feeling like no purpose and feeling like things are not right, I want you to say, listen, Chris, I believe you. I'm just not sure how to do that. I want you to put your trust in him. I want you to believe that Jesus died on the cross for your sins and rose from the dead so you can have a relationship with him. He is the ladder. That at the top is God promising all these beautiful things to you, and his promises are available if you trust in Jesus and what he has done for you and the work on that cross. And some of you need to be found by Jesus today. You've been trying, you've been working, you've been trying to do all this stuff. You've tried to be a good Christian, religious person, doing a lot of things. Maybe even came to church and have perfect attendance. You're like, aren't things changing? Because you're still working. I want you to yield to him and be found by Jesus. Because you're just hoping you'll be found by some guy. Some girl, maybe if I can be found by her, then things will be, if someone knew me. No. Listen, Jesus formed you. He fashioned you. He shaped you. He knows exactly what you're purposed for. So allow him to pull you out of the lost and found so you can be repurposed again. In fact, check it out. This morning, we're going to repurpose this towel. This towel was worthless. good for nothing, stuck in a bag. And this morning, we're going to baptize Tanya. And this towel is going to be used for what it was designed for. And so this morning, I hope, is the morning where just like this towel that got pulled out of the lost, it now became found, and it's going to be purpose for what God always intended it for, to dry somebody off after an awesome baptism. Would you pray with me? Father, I look at a lot of people who feel worthless, who feel useless, like, God, you've forgotten about me. You don't even want to use me anymore. Lord, I don't even know how to kind of connect with that because it's so painful to the soul. And Lord, I'm praying that you would reach into someone's heart and you would find them right where they're at, gloomy, dark, feeling overwhelmed. And God, I pray. You would open up their heart to see that you sent your son Jesus to die on that cross for them. And that's how much value they have. They have so much value, and that's why you went to the cross, because you would pay any price for them. And then you rose from the dead to conquer death and the grave, and you've been living and reigning in heaven ever since, changing lives one by one, all over the world. Even here in Wells Branch, on the other side of the tracks. So God, can you do that thing you do and open up somebody's heart? And Lord, for those that know you and they just sort of lost their way, would you get them around some people, get them into a community group, get them into some people that want to love them, meet with them. Lord, I pray that somebody here is bold enough to say, hey, I want to go with you to lunch sometime, to one of the pastors, elders, any of the people that look like they've been here a while, or maybe it's somebody brand new that they don't know. God, I pray that you would just have people be bold enough to say, I want to know somebody who might be able to show me how to get back to where I need to be, right in line with Jesus. Lord, I'm praying that happens this morning as we worship you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Imagine what would happen if we truly understood what it was to be found. And we lived out our life in purpose, because our Creator, the one who formed and fashioned each one of us, was kind of directing our steps. And we were living out to the fullness of our own lives. Imagine what happened. Imagine how that would change your family. Imagine how that would change your marriage. Imagine how that would change and transform your parenting. Listen, we're going to go and transform this world by being lights in the dark. So we got to go act like we're found people, because we are. Would you receive the benediction? Go and be found. Go and search out and look all over for Jesus. And he said, if you seek me, you will find me. Go and tell other people that you've found the Messiah and it's changed everything inside of you. And you are now a found person and your identity comes from Jesus. Go and push back the darkness and have an awesome week of worship. You're dismissed.